Shalom, give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, KADASH, double honors to the elders and apostles, great wisdom. Teaching this church in sincerity, salutation to the hopeful elect that spread throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, so the title of this lesson will be "White Skin is a Facade to Hide Behind for Wicked E for the Edom to hide behind their true, serpent nature. So try the spirit, or white skin is a out. I was thinking about two different titles. I was thinking about name this lesson either white skin is a facade for wicked E to hide behind their true identity. Try the spirit, or white skin, was a facade to hide behind. Um, was a facade for wicked to hide behind their true identity. So, probably name the first one white skin is a facade for Edom to hide behind the true identity. So try the spirit. All right, so I'm just gonna get into this lesson. This lesson just this the title of the lesson just came to my mind just through the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit working through me. It just came the title all this just came through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, right? So I'm gonna go into that to the word, right, to the white skin, right, because we know that it's about skin tone, because it's about skin tone, but we know that this our salvation, um, a certain aspect, is about skin tone, because everything we have to try the spirit always, we have to try these spirits, right? So, um, so I have here white, I just looked at the word, white, um, white, how, white skin and white privilege, and how, it was used as, a benefit to the, if you look like a so-called white person, you like a so-called Edomite person. If you had a white complexion, you got more privilege, right? To, just, put it out there. So I have here from Wikipedia, white privilege or white skin privilege is the society privilege that benefits white people over non-white people. And in some societies, particularly if they are otherwise under the same social, political, and economic circumstances. Right. So this is why I say that skin color does matter. Skin color does matter in this. Because we Jake, wicked the Edomites, they were classifying. They were privileged. You were privileged. That means you got to get in front of the line. You got to do all types of things based on your skin tone. It was based on your spirit. This is why it written that man judged the outward appearance. Sorry, because wicked E, he would we, if you look at your, Wicked E, he, if you look like him, or if you look like him, you get special privileges, right? So, um, right, so and I say that it's about skin color as well, because our Lord Yahawah Shah, Yahweh Shah, he came in the appearance of his father Yahweh, right? So we know that if Yahweh Shah came as a dark skinned, man, right? We know that Yahweh is a dark skinned man. It also it's also talks about in Revelation chapter 1, um, 13 through 15, and Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 through 6. It talks about the skin color, and appearance of the Heavenly Father, right? So, as well, when Wiki E got cursed with leprosy, when Wiki E got cursed, with leprosy, which his leprosy it's not a, it's not a, it's not one that is one gets you sick, because leprosy is technically, if it's like bad, I forget, but if someone have leprosy, you're supposed to cast them out of your sight, right? But this type of leprosy Wiki E has, it's not. it won't get you sick or going to get you affected, right? So, but, just, move on from there, but we know that it's about trying the spirit as well, because um, we know that white skin is just a facade, right? Just, something that Wiki E, promotes to make his, so-called, race, so-called, the Europeans, so-called his so-called right race, to look superior than other races, right? So I looked at this word facade, um, which means meaning to maintain a false image impression of something, right? To maintain a false image slash impression of something, right? So Wiki he promotes that his race, if you have white skin, you get privileges, right? That's a false image, a false impression, right? Because we know that the true princes, we know the true power, we know um, the true, the true people that Yahawah Shai dealing with is a dark skinned person, like a dark skinned person. This is why it's all about, but it goes back to the spirit, right? Because a so called black person can look like a so called black person, they can have a Edomite spirit in them, and a so called Edomite can have an Israelite spirit within them, right? So this is why you have to try the spirit. But I'm going to get into that precept later in this lesson. But the whole point of this topic is just exposing how white skin is a facade and how they're just a false image, a false impression for the Edomites behind their true serpent characteristics, right? Their true serpent, their true serpent, nature, right? So the a characteristic of a serpent as portrayed in the Bible is a deceptive creature or trickster, right? A deceptive creature or trickster, right? And that's and that's identity. That's as you know um, that's Wiki E. He's a deceiver. That was he's known as a devil. He's a trickster. He's cunning. He's a wise serpent, right? He's a cunning serpent. Some scholars say that the term used is the concept of whiteness as a substitute for class or other social privilege, or as a distraction from deeper underlying problems or inequality, right? So it's a distraction, right? White, is a facade to hide behind that they really do not like the so-called black people. They don't like people who doesn't look like them, right? They see them as being more, more seeing them as being the higher class, right? Seeing them as being more, more deserving of wealth rather than the black person, right? So, because it's I'm not trying to. I'm trying to make my. I'm bringing some precepts. So I got Genesis chapter 3 verse 1, and it's all going back to the garden of Eden. All right. So Genesis chapter 3 verse 1, it reads, "The serpent was the shrewdest of all the wild animals the Lord Yahweh, the Most High, had made. One day he asked the woman, did the Most High really say you must not eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden?" Right. So um actually, can I have it here in the let me get in the KJV. I'm gonna read that again. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh the Most High hath made. Right. So that serpent represents the wicked Esau, right? The Edomites, right? They're compared to, they have the characteristics of a serpent, of a deceiving, uh, so that any beast of the field the Lord the Most High had made And he said unto the woman, Yeah, has the Most High said, Ye should not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the free of the eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. Third verse, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High has said, Ye should not eat of it, neither should ye touch it, lest ye die. Right. So that's going back to the other doctrine, the different philosophies that the serpent were trying to tempt. With the serpent represent, the serpent is actually a man, that had pale skin, that came into the garden, right? So it was a man, right? So the serpent, which is a man that tempted, wicked Eve, that tempted Eve, to partaking in those different philosophies, different doctrines that, because the laws were given only to the Israelites, the laws was only given to the Israelites, and they wicked Eve, Eve and Adam, they had those laws in their inward parts, they was living by those laws, but um, you know, they have it in their consciousness, to obey what's good and not obey what's bad. But since they got deceived, now they had to, they had to live. They have to, those laws, basically wasn't wisdom no more, right? They start going off. They start committing, they start, committing sins, right? Which they're not. Basically, you die, right? Because when you commit sin, is the sin, as when you accumulate sin, it equals death, right? So it just shows, the whole point. It just shows how wicked Eve through his, um, you know, through him going to the going to wicked, going to Eve, through his, subtle and his, he was able to deceive Eve, right? It just shows how, they're hiding, they're hiding behind, they're using, their privilege, their white skin privilege to make them seem more of someone who they're not. They're truly, they're truly a serpent. They truly have, a serpent mentality. One Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, but the Lord Yahawah said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord Yahawah seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outer appearance, but the Lord Yahawah looketh on the heart, right? So we are not to look on someone, because of how they look. We have to, we have to see their, we have to analyze them, right? We had to see them who they truly are, right? We had to discern, their true spirit, you know, especially if they look like a so-called wicked E, right? They look like a so-called Edomite, because again, or if they look like a Israelite, we have to discern, we have to try their spirit, right? So we'll go from here to John chapter 4, verse 1. Testing the spirits. 1 John chapter 4, verse 1, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world, right? So again, we have to try the spirits, right? We have to, you know, we have to see, when in their spirit, this is why our elder and apostle always, this is why when they see like a so-called white person, like see a so-called Jake or someone, they ask, what seed, um, or who do your father like, and what seed does their forefathers go back to, right? Do they go back to like a European? Do they go back to like a a Italian, a do they go back to a Egyptian? Do they go back to a a because do they go back to an Irish person? A Bantu person, um, a a Negro, a Haitian, a Benjamite, because they from if their forefather, their seeds go back to being a Benjamite or Haitian, more than likely they're Israelite, but their seed go back to being like a Wiki or Edomite or a Temanite or they're most likely be a Edomite, right? So again, you just gotta try the spirit, right? That's how you try the spirit. And they also, because many false, and now this also goes back to doctrine, right? If you know if you if you're in the presence of a teacher who might be teaching something that um, that wasn't taught to you, right? So you might have to ask questions regarding their doctrine. Second verse, hereby you know ye that the spirit of the Most High, every spirit that confesses that Yahawashi Hamasha is come in the flesh is of the Most High, right? So that going back to Yahawashi Hamasha, right? And every spirit that confesses that not that Yahawashi Hamasha is coming to the flesh is not of the Most High, right? So Wiki E, he doesn't confess that a true black person or a black person came down to rescue these or to a Yahushua Mashiach, which came down as a dark skinned person. He came to save the Jews, right? Save Israel from their sins, right? To die on that cross for Israelites, right? He doesn't, because the reason how, because if you go to the temples, right? First of all, he doesn't even have the true name. He doesn't even promote the names or the true power Yahawah, Yahushua, right? And he doesn't say that this real, so-called Jesus Christ is like a so-called bad person, right? He doesn't have those in his temples, right? He's not promoting that, right? So he's not of the spirit. He's not of the spirit inside, So he's not Wiki. He's not of the spirit of the inside, but he promotes himself as being the spirit of the Most High with the so-called Jesus Christ image, right? His so-called Jesus Christ image will go back to Christos Borgia, right? Caesar Borgia, right? He promotes Caesar Borgia as being of the Most High, which he is not. He's of the devil, right? The spiritual demon Satan. Third verse, and every spirit that confesses not that Yahushua Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of the Most High, and this is that the spirit of an antichrist, anti-anointed, right? Whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now are they in the world, right? So there are many anti-anointed, in the world. Ye are of the power, the Most High, little children, have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, right? So we are able to discern, who, we are able to see far beyond the facade that is put up, by Wiki E, to make himself seem as he's, a false image that he put up, to make his race and his skin color seem as it's, something pure, something that is holy, right? This is why you have a article at Wikipedia that says white privilege or white skin privilege, because it is about skin color, right? They promote, you couldn't do anything if your skin wasn't white, right? So when I'm saying by anything, I mean by by getting going in the front of the line, or eating at certain restaurants, or just if your skin was not white, you were being demonized, right? You know, let's see. What does facade mean? A false appearance that makes someone or something seem more pleasant or better than they really are, right? So white skin is a facade to make what you eat to feel more better. It's make him feel like he is more better than the Israelites, right? To make him feel like he's more better than the than the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Benjamins, the Benjamite, so-called West Indians, um, Puerto Ricans, all of them, right? So this is what the facade he put on, right? This is why you see, you see um, so-called Karens, they walk when they see a so-called Negro, you know, so-called black person enter, their neighborhood, they look at them crazy, like they don't belong because of their skin color, right? Because of, you know, because it's a so-called black person, this is why you see, Karens or white people walk around like with their heads up, because of their skin color, right? They're privileged, right? So all of that is gonna fade away, when Jacob Church will come around and the return of of our Lord YAHAWASHI, all that, they won't mean nothing, right? The only the only thing that would be exalting that day is the names of YAHAWASHI, right? But so I'm gonna jump from 1 John to Ephesians 6 and 11. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye might be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, right? And part of that, put on that armor is get and put on, walking in wisdom, right? Walking not as fools but as wise, um, you know, seeing what is real and seeing what is fake, seeing beyond, that false image, and everyone, is 2/3 too. Seeing who is brother, seeing who is sister, who is real brother, who's real sister, sorry. Saying who's is Edomite and saying who's an Israelite, you know. So cunning arts, deceit, crowd trickery, right? So that serpent, going back to serpent characteristics, right? A characteristic of a serpent, deceptive creature or trickster, right? So the wiles of the devil, right? He come with deceit, deceiving. He come with craftiness. He comes with trickeries, right? You know, and our people, think if they look like a so-called white person, they will get more privilege, right? But it's just a facade, if they don't know it, the 2/3 of our people don't know it, you know, which I wasn't going to originally name this lesson, white skin was a facade that was sold to you 2/3, right? Because our people believe and they look like they're white, if they walk around and act like they're white, that they're gonna get, in the front of the line, they're gonna get more privileges, right? Which is just a false image because what you eat, truth to be told, what you eat, he really don't. The top rich elites, they don't care about their own people. They only care about money and they only care about power, right? You um, but for the point of this lesson, they're what you eat, he used, if you like a so-called white person, you get privileges, right? Know, you get special privilege, right? But if you like a so-called, if you like a so-called dark-skinned person, you're treated as not equal. You're treated as not equal, which is why you know out here the concept of whiteness was it as a say the term uses the concept of whiteness as a substitute for class or other social privilege, or as a distraction for deeper underlying problems of inequality, right? right? So you have some different opinions down here as well. But we know that the deeper underlying problems of is a distraction from deeper. We know there's a distraction from deeper underlying problems of inequality because we know that he has a true hatred for the so-called Israelites, so-called dark skinned person. We know that because ultimately he was cursed, right? He was cursed with leprosy. You know, he was he will curse with his white skin, right? Um, and we know it goes back to that birthright too. Right, so I'm gonna jump from here, and we know we are not ever equal. We're not equal with the so-called Edomites. We're not or ever gonna be equal with the no matter how no matter no matter how how because you have in the slavery days you have people so-called mulattoes, right? You have people who you know come a mulatto, which is a person that let's see if I can look that up. Mulatto, here in Spanish. Let me see. Is a mixed race with European and Black African roots, right? So we know that if you let me see if I can look at that images. These are some mulattoes right here. I believe church of a you know if you have a so-called white person, you have some privileges. If you have features of a so-called white person, but you know even during slavery, a mulatto, if they had features of a so-called white person, they wasn't working out in the fields. They were more likely in the house, right? You probably you probably were treated more better, but still though, um, it's just a facade. Ephesians chapter says it's not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, right? So it's not about the appearance, right? It's not about a person appearance. It's about their spirit. It's about the spirit behind that that skin color. 13 verse, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, right? So I'm gonna jump from here to Second Thessalonians 2:4. So this is Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 4. Who opposes and exalting himself all above all that's called the Most High, right? So this is going back to Wiki E. He opposes and exalting himself all above all that's called the Most High, right? This is why you see him, his white image, his temples, his so-called Jesus Christ temples, and image in the temples, right, in the churches, right? They get promoted, right? The name, right? He say that he's the real power, the most high look like him, right? And, you know and he put a Greek name, Jesus Christ, on the name of the Messiah. We know his real name is Yahawah, right? So, he opposes and exalts himself all above that's called the Messiah, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Messiah, sitting in the temple of the Messiah, showing himself that he is the Messiah, right? So we also know that YAHAWASHI, we know that his true appearance is, is dark skin, right? So again, Wiki E, he put himself, he put his complexion as being, you know, he put his complexion, his skin color, on all the images, on the angels, on all the prophets, on the Lord, he put his paleness on, on the Lord, the prophets, and angels, for him to make him look like he's more powerful than a dark skinned person, to make him look like he's more special than a dark skinned person, right? But we know it's just a facade, right, to cover up the fact that they're low people, they're just base men, they're not worthy, right? They're not, special. There's nothing special about them, right? There's nothing privileged about them, right? They just have the only thing that they, you know, is good at is being wicked, right? It's promoting wickedness, right? That's the only thing that they're good at, right? You know, but they blame it on Jake, because they got Jake, because we know Jake is just getting punished, right? It was like their captivity is just a punishment, right? And the Lord Yahweh Shai, he used the these so-called white people to, to punish Jake, to make, Jake feel less, to make Jake feel to beneath, make Jake to feel like they're beneath a so-called white person, right? Because if you look at so-called white people, not talking about real white people, like the real Edomites, if you look at them today, some of them are just, bug the hell out. Their true characteristic, their true traits come out. Their true, their who they really are. It's 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 just, if you look at it, you've been thinking to yourself, like, who in the heck, who are these people, and why are they in power? Why are they in position? Look at the so-called Joe Biden, right? Look at the president of the United States. He's an example of how, base these people are, how low these people really are, right? Let me get it from here. Daniel 4:17. It's like, yeah, Daniel 4:17. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17 reads, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, sit, and over it the basis of man, right? So that's Yahweh Shah that puts Wiki E, the Edomites, in power, and to make them feel like they're special, to make them feel like, they're above the Israelites, right? To make them feel like they're the Most High, right? To make them feel like the Most High won't like them, right? Then it's just to go back to their proud. They are a serpent. They are very proud, right? They are very a powerful spirits, right? Their spirits is proud, NLT, for this has been decreed by the messengers, is commanded by the holy ones, so that everyone may know that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of the world. Right? He gives them to anyone he chooses, even to the lowest of the people. Right? So it's not no so-called Satan that, it's not so-called spiritual demon Satan that, that that give us word, he, on the left side is, we know that Yahweh Shai, he controls both sides. He controls both good and he controls evil. So it's Yahweh Shai that work through these spiritual demons, saying to, that act through the Wiki E, right? That act through the Edomites, right? That word base goes back into, which means of a person action or feeling without moral principles, right? Wiki E, he do not have moral principles, just live the world, for example, this world, The people, there's a scripture that says, if when the wicked is in rude, the people mourn, but when the wicked is in rude, the people mourn, right? So is the people mourning? Yes, because wicked he's in rude, right? I'm gonna get that scripture right now. So this I would know he's the lowest people, right? And he's a serpent. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. Um, Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn. Right? So when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. So the righteous is not in authority because it's not, we're not, the Israelites, ultimately we know that the righteous, will eventually be in authority when Yahweh shall return and he set up his kingdom, right? But right now, the wicked is in authority. I'm about to read that now. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. The wicked, who's wicked? Wicked is the Edomites. They're, the so-called, the one that's at the bottom right of this, screen. The real, the true Edom, right? They are in authority, right? They are, bearing through. So the people are not rejoicing, right? The people are mourning, right? They're mourning about inflations, about war, about food, about just everything, right? Right. So so when you look at this now you'll see, that white the white skin it was just a facade, for what we can eat to hide behind their true, serpent characteristics, right? So we have to try the spirit, right? This is why it's important to try the spirit, right? Because when you see a so-called white person, you have to also you can't forget that they're about their true serpent characteristics, their true serpent nature, right? You can't forget about that, right? So this whole point of this lesson, trying the spirits, right? So because we know there's a no there's a deeper underlying problem of inequality. There's a distraction of why it's just a distraction, from a deeper underlying problems of inequality. And we know that Wiki E, he's holding on that hatred. He's still holding that hatred about his birthright, right? Which was never heals anyways. But he's going on. He's still holding on to it. So I'm not gonna make it too much longer than it already is. I don't give this lesson too much longer than it already is. So I'm gonna close out here. I'm gonna give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, KALAL. And next time we'll say Shalom.